All right, family. Glad to be back with you for another episode. Looking forward to our new series, which is on okay, Masir. Hopefully, you won't have any issues. I've done a bunch of work since the last time. As a matter of fact, I can add you as a a regular. That's what it is, a regular, and you should have permissions to be able to do whatever's necessary. Then I also up my internet speed increased and my so hopefully we won't have as many issues. Yeah, so with Streamlabs, you know what I mean? So I can put the protections on so people can't um just do anything crazy. And the wild thing about it is they already keeping track of you because you got points and everything. So that's how you get those new badges. I don't know what that 2024 thing is, but still, but that's how you get it. So now you are added as a what is it called again? A regular because they got regular subscribers or something, and I can just give you the permit. Well, so you won't have as issues that you had last time. All right, family. Like I was saying, glad to be back with you last week on the show. Will wouldn't even let him comment anything crazy, so he helps me out tremendously, and I look forward to returning the favor to him some point. So we finished up our 7 spaces of healing, and we are going to move into what is good food. I think I want to do 444. So we're gonna do our sound bowl, our breathe. The color is light blue. The element is ether. Ether. So we're gonna do a little work with ether. But again, we're gonna start with the bowl. By the depth of the sound, I would like to say that everyone, the energy must be a very good communicative energy going on now. Whether you're saying the things, the right words are definitely coming to you, um, or you are saying the right words that's necessary. So we're gonna do the 4-4-4 breathing exercise. It is breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. In 4, hold 4, out 4. And we're gonna do that 3 times in a row. On my count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. Breathe in 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. Release for 4, 2, 3, 4. Last time. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. So if you can, hope you sit in a comfortable position. I want you to kind of clear your mind. And in your mind, you can picture yourself sitting, standing, whatever, however your mind's eye make you feel comfortable. And I want you to stick your hands out in front of you. And as of right now, they're just sitting out there. They're empty, nothing in them. And I want you begin to think of something that you want so very much right now. Whether it be money, whether it be, in my case, it's been a couple of books, whether it be books, whether it be love, whatever you envision that you need right now, just one of the things, not necessarily the number one, but one thing that you need right now. And with your hands, I want you begin to shape that thing in your hands. You crease a new pattern or a new direction for it. And as you're shaping, you take one hand and I want you to fan more of that energy for you. And then take the other hand and push the energy you don't want away. And then go back to shaping, whether it be a heart or, like I said, this money. Money is one of my favorites. And I always fan it through the window, coming in with an abundance, filling up my residence. And also love is something I want you to envision these things coming to you in abundance, and as you're shaping your future, your energy, your needs, your wants, what's important to you, I want you to repeat after me. I speak and hear. Thank you. I communicate honestly. I live an authentic life. I'm fearless and free. I trust what I have to say. I speak and hear the truth. I communicate honestly. I live an authentic life. I am fearless and free. I trust what I have to say. So I don't know, figure out what it is. At some point, we're going to hit the right thing. So I just updated the equipment. I said I was going to get the cords. I'm going to order some cords. I should have them before Thursday show. If not, we'll see if the cords are the thing. I've been adjusting the settings. This has been a growth process for us all, right? Because it started off with the camera. we couldn't get that together. Do you remember the audio was horrible, where we were talking and sounding like we were in tin cans? So we came a long way, and I think these are just a couple of more bumps and bruises as we sharpen our tools and get a little better with this thing. But I appreciate you as always. I'm going to I'm gonna figure it out. So I don't think it was as shaky before, and and surprisingly, I haven't been getting notifications this time either. Last time it gave me notifications, but it only gives me notifications if the frames are overtake some time. I appreciate your patience as always, brother, and I appreciate your support again. So I didn't know how I wanted to start this show, honestly, because there were several things that just kind of happened and kind of spoke to me on how to approach this week. So is good for the soul? Question mark. I think like most of the times we want to start with. I'm not going to tell you which of these resonates with you. You pick which one resonates with you. Either one that resonates with you doesn't matter because the process is going to be the same regardless on what your belief system is, right? So, first question we'll ask ourselves is what is a soul? Good idea. So, I'm going to, yes, I will go look at my archive streams and see if I can catch it. Because I got Twitch running side, not Twitch. I have TikTok because TikTok was going crazy last time and it's not going as crazy this time. See what's going on. So we want to make sure we're working with a shared description, a shared understanding of what is a soul. So, and to address what is a soul, I think we're going to just think about three different perspectives. The first perspective that we're going to consider when defining what is a soul is the religious. And we won't go too deep in them, but we'll get a little surfacely discuss what this is. So essentially, with the religious viewpoint of what is a soul, religious pretty much explains it as the divine spark or your direct connection to God and the universe, as we talk about all the time. Um, it's supposed to be able to allow you to communicate, send messages, receive messages, all types of things. But ultimately, religious viewpoint is a philosophical viewpoint of what is the soul. And philosophically, there are pretty much three main ideas as it relates to what is the soul, and it is one, it is the immortal essence that existed before your life and will exist after your life. That's kind of in line with the scientific theory. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed. No, you know what? I never played D&D, and ironically, I was trying to watch a show on D&D. Ironically, like I don't know, I'm a magic nerd, but for some reason I couldn't get it. My brother loved He loved, love, 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 love. So he would love D&D, and he probably would love most of those table games because he loves anime and things like that. Which is funny, his his nerd is not as magic nerd like mine. But no, I have not played those of it, and I forget the name of the show. I only watched like 2 episodes. So then, with the philosophical, they also consider it habits you as you exist in this form right now. The electrical impulses, the ideas, the thoughts, all those things that have you existing in this presence, right? Then we move on from the philosophical to a And cultural views definitely vary by the culture. And there definitely can say so. But essentially, cultural views are separated by views of the afterlife. What happens? Is there such thing as an afterlife? What happens during that afterlife? Is it a judgment? Do you The next one is reincarnation. Do you have the opportunity to come back as something else? Is there levels to your return till you reach nirvana? Right? And then lastly, it is spiritual practices. So those are the people who, like me, the spiritual people. We talk about stones, rocks. I like laying hands, even though that may like I said, may overlap with some religious, because spiritual people go to church, or they have religious, they have philosophical ideas too. So there could definitely be some overlap. But spiritual people are the ones that identify themselves as that, and they don't adhere to any. They don't have. I say this loosely. They don't adhere to many religious practices, but they definitely adhere to several spiritual practices like meditation. Even for me right now, one of the things is my diet, and it's more of a spiritual approach. What I'll do, since you running another game, I'll that I'm not into it is because I haven't had a real experience. Most of the times where you can spark excitement and learning in people is through experience. Experience is the best teacher. And I haven't had any. I wasn't gonna say I haven't had a lot of experience with table games. Like I said, that was his sci-fi. He loved Dungeons and Dragons. So I would look into it, but I love games like fighting games. Scratch, not fighting. Some shooting games. But not really Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. I get tired because the combo is so crazy. But I am trying to expand that. So I'll do some work and I'll let you know. Or when you come on here, just give me some ideas. So then after that, with another question. What makes up a soul? And again, it's just general categories so we can make sure that we're moving in the same understanding or with the same information on what a soul is. So what makes up a soul? One thing that makes up a soul is your consciousness. It is the awareness of yourself and your surroundings. Now, when it comes with consciousness, consciousness includes your unconscious and your interactions with others, how they affect things. It is your consciousness, which is basically the traits, the behaviors, the characteristics that make you who you are, right? About who you really are. So, like when you're making that list and you notice that this list has all these good things, be real with yourself. Let's start writing some of the things that aren't so good. Some of those things several times in your life. I had a friend recently call me and tell me that her and her boyfriend broke up. And when they broke up, he said everything to her that I had told her. So, patterns, personality, characteristics that make you. Your morality is a piece that makes up your soul. Your morality is your sense of right or wrong. So, that genuine, and they say sometimes some people believe that you are given this from birth, and some people think it is a combination of environment and family, which family is part of the environment. But your emotions make up your soul, but not just your emotions. It's the capacity to feel the range of motions. That's the highs and the lows. Those motions that you can't figure out the words for, the ones that you don't share with anybody. And ironically, that's what I learned on the show. Well, I not learned on the show. So you as the GM must have been as compared to like the host. It was the host of the show. And that's what the host did. They set up the scenarios and they pretty much managed the game, the flow of the game, set up the scenarios, all that stuff. Um, hmm, I like that. I don't know if you all can see it, but it's the game master creates a scenario for the game and runs it for the other players. The game master tells about the world that they are in, describes the events that they experience, and players can do whatever they want in this world within reason and understanding the consequences of their own actions. And of course, it's about imagination and creativity. What I love, what it find, what it actually reminds me of, and I know you may not know what I'm talking about, but when I was a kid, there was this game called Oregon Trail, and you had to get in this wagon and you had to get from wherever you start to Oregon. You had to go to Oregon Trail and try to survive the Oregon Trail. And you deal with famine, you deal with attack from random people, people die. It's all types of things that go on. But the whole point of this is you got to every person in this has a role, and you pick the roles that you feel are important. It's going to help your wagon train get to Oregon. So it reminds me of Advanced Oregon Trail. The last piece that we'll discuss that makes up your soul is the spiritual essence and views and your cultural views on what is a soul. Maybe that's why I OD by, man. Yeah, I didn't know. Sometimes we get through. I really just want to set that foundation and then kind of have a little conversation about tea in life. And two main things that I want to discuss is kind of this idea of vulnerability and really as it relates to the soul. Because one of the topics we want to talk about is our normalized negative behaviors and how some of the things that we do are not good to the soul. And some of the things that are good for the soul initially shocks us, right? And then I also want to discuss this idea of time travel, which we talked about a lot. But we've put time travel in simple terms. So you don't need no time, you don't need a time machine. You don't need a scientific degree. All you need to understand is memories. All you need is memories. So I recognize in this when we're trying to figure out what is good for the soul, I'm in this space of myself. And I recognize, first thing we said, my consciousness, the awareness of myself, I'm being afforded the opportunity to expand my understanding and my thought process around this idea of vulnerability. And I know one of the reasons I think I'm getting this opportunity to reshape my relationship with this idea of vulnerability is because vulnerability, feeling safe enough to be vulnerable, is a good feeling to the soul. If you've ever been in a space that allowed you to feel safe or interacted with someone that made you feel safe, you know how good that intrinsically feels internally. Relationship with vulnerability, then there's some aspect of soul nourishment that is missing. And I love how my my vulnerability has grown amazingly. Just the fact that we even use my real name on social media sometimes, because that's my name, and it's my first time. But it was a level of exposing myself and vulnerability that I was afraid to experience or afraid to do for various reasons. I rationalized it. Even some of the rationalizations are very logical and make sense that you couldn't disagree with. Like for my work, I didn't have time for people to be finding me as it related to my work just randomly before, right? So, but all I did was just justify the prison that I was creating for myself by limiting this idea and by attaching my vulnerability to fear, right? So, how I am experiencing this expansion or reshaping of vulnerability is through my birthday. So, my birthday is Friday? Friday, all day long. Woo, 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 woo. Now that is a huge difference between it. So Oregon Trail was just the Oregon Trail games. Um, I'm an Xbox dude, so I got an Xbox. So I play several survival games on Xbox. So it might not be bad for me, but I'm having this moment to reshape my relationship with vulnerability as it relates to my birthday, right? And one of the first things that I'm kind of shocked at is I'm amazed at how little people know about me, right? And I've talked about this. I say I think I've done a great job. I'm a person who presents himself as someone who has put together. So I look like I have my affairs in order, and I generally do. Now, the downside of presenting yourself like that is you don't always present yourself or even know how to show that you need help, right? And you don't create the space or the opportunity for others to show up in your life, right? I had several questions that came. I was talking to a friend, and I've known them. Oh man, listen, I don't even know. So I just like this number 20. So I'm gonna say 20 years. First of all, this is the first time in my life I've ever kind of put out there what I wanted for my birthday. I made a post. I've been vocal, and it was funny because I was thinking somebody asked me what did I want for my birthday, and I was like, I just want to do something beautiful, and I want somebody to do something for me, right? But when I thought this, I really never put it out there so the universe can work in my favor, or those connected to me can show up in my life for that and help me do that, right? So I jump off the porch and I make me this little post of some books that I want, which for me is a huge, 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 huge step in vulnerability. Because low key, I used to always think, and I'm getting over it as I go through the process. Consider that stuff as dry begging, right? But I really guess it's the intentions behind that. You know what I mean? And I want to be able to show myself in a lot of different ways. And how this winds up showing up is I'm talking to this friend for 20 years, and I think they actually might want to try to show up. But they asked me this very interesting question. And they said, what do you like? And for me, that kind of was like, you don't know? But it really was like a wake up call because initially I think that says something about like it definitely says something about you, right? But in this healing process, we know our job is not necessarily to judge others, but to evaluate and reevaluate our steps. And for someone to be a part of my life for 20 years and not know what I like, that means that I have not been vulnerable. As this being my friend, I've never given them the opportunity to show up in my life like that because I don't even really share what I like. Generally, people have some idea what I like. They slip it down to they know I like food, but they confuse that with I like to cook. I don't like to cook. I like to eat. And cooking comes along with eating. And people know I like cologne. But outside of those things, you might know I'm a gadget. I like gadgets and stuff. What would I want for my birthday? Them about 20 years too. And I appreciate them, and they one of the soul family. They show up on the show all the time. But they reached out to me and they asked me about what they thought was my favorite poem, right? And I knew the poem they were talking about. I do love the poem. I think it's a great poem to help you when you're dealing with loss or you in grieving. And it is a poem on pain by Khalil Gibran. We've talked about it a bunch. So I knew they'd ask that, and they was like, "Hey, what's the name of your favorite poem?" And I told them the name of that poem. And then I also told them, well, it's not my favorite poem, though. And then I told them what my favorite poem is. And my favorite poem of all time will always be The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, right? And a lot of people don't consider that a poem, but it is a long poem. And a lot of people consider that a children's book. It is a kid's book, but it that poem. And then outside of that, I love Where the Sidewalk Ends. Those are two of my favorite books. And then I also love Tales of the Fourth Grade Nothing, Super Fudge, otherwise known as Sheila the Great, and Are You There? Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And knows that those were my favorite books. So that's why I can wholeheartedly, because I can wholeheartedly say that no one knows that. I've never told anyone that. She was the first person how I made that post. So now I let everybody know what my favorites are. Thing with time traveling, because it allows me to go back and visit. One of the reasons I love those books is because of my childhood, the childhood memories, the fondness of those books. It made me smile, even just thinking about those books. The kid in me felt joyous because he remembered the good times we had reading those books. And the ironic thing about that, some of those times weren't so good times externally, but in the world I could create, the memories from reading those books are beautiful. And like I said, it allows me an opportunity to be able to look at myself and see what that says about me. That at least two people I've known for at least 20 years don't even know the simple things about me. I also recognize through this conversation how knowledge definitely is my control mechanism. I spend a lot of time learning people. I'll learn you down to a science. I'm very observant. I ask the right questions. I recognize routines very easy. I'm a mathematical mind. You know what I mean? So patterns show up A B A B A B A B. I can see that A B B C B. I can see those patterns easy. They show up to me easily. But in doing all that observation, it doesn't allow me to be an active participant, right? And people share a lot of stuff with me. And for these to be my friends, some of the things that I've shared with them, they've probably never told anyone else. And they cannot say the same thing about me. They can say, like, I told Peanut some things that I've never told anyone else. But if you ask them, do you think he's told you something he's never told anyone else? Their answer would be no, right? And so I've been shaping this new relationship with vulnerability because I want those people around me. I want to provide the opportunities for me to get the support and the things that feel good to my soul. And by doing that, that means I have to open myself up to those around me so they can show up in my life and help nourish my soul, right? Now I put them in a box. I put them in a small box. And the closest I get to asking people for help is, hey, what you got going on this weekend? You know what I mean? That's the closest I get. Then I was faced with this idea of time traveling that has shown up a bunch. And it started off with another friend, and they were talking about this idea of reminiscing and how their child was bringing up this idea of reminiscing. And when we had that conversation, I immediately started thinking about I put reminiscing in that same box as hope. And I could tell that this person did too, because the energy that they had in that conversation was the same energy that I have when I'm talking about hope. You gotta be careful with reminiscing. Reminiscing can bring up some bad things, right? And it definitely can. But reminiscing can also bring up some of your best memories. And that right there is time traveling, because soon as you think of that thing, soon as that thought comes in your mind, you immediately can go right back to that place and that time, and you can smell all the sounds, and I mean you can hear all the sounds and smell all the smells. You can see the people, the colors. It becomes real, like that moment was frozen in time specifically for you. And it's a reason why it's like that. So as we talked about that, it made us realize how beautiful time travel can be, how fond some of those memories are, and how rewarding it can be to our spirit to pause and even think back to some of those good memories, right? Then I was faced with it again because, listen, you heard the passion in my voice. But when I started talking about my favorite poems and my favorite books, you can hear the kid in me as it comes out. So when I started talking to that person about that, man, listen, I remembering how meaningful they were to my life at that moment in time. And but it also felt very good to share something with a friend that I have never shared with anyone before. And I keep saying this sharing because one of our reasons that we time travel is sharing. We are meant to share these stories because sometimes there is a lesson for someone beyond you. Remember, the story is in your testimony, not your advice, right? And this wound up hitting me in my face again today. Well, not today, but this week sometime. And I was faced to try and travel to a moment that wasn't so good for me. J. Cole, I don't know, someday he just came up on my playlist. And one line he said, "This second time he got me." The other one, the good news is you came a long way. The bad news is you went the wrong way. And then this one was, I've had some truths. As a matter of fact, we was in the group last night and it was funny. And I appreciate my brother for being this honest, because it's a real feeling that you deal with sometimes when you hear the truth. I said something and it had a bit of a harsh truth to it. And we were talking about how we mislabel some of our actions, specifically as it related to this idea of patience, right? And I said, I think there are times where what I've been calling patience is something else. You know what I mean? So, like, for example, my understanding will keep, can, the actions and me understanding can look very, very similar to me being patient. But understanding sometimes can keep me places longer than I need to be, and that's not patience at all. But anyway, we're having a discussion about patience and how we may mislabel it the same way we did hope and faith. And I go say my little part about the mislabeling. And one of the brothers in the group, he joins. He was like, I just want to say something. I love this man, period, and I love this man for that. He was like, man, I agree with you, and then I kind of don't agree with you, right? And I'm like, okay, so I'm ready to hear because this is a safe space. You don't have to agree. We don't always agree. We we're in the same boat, so our thinking aligns a lot, but we don't always agree, right? So he says, well, I agree because it's true, but then I don't agree just because I ain't like it. And I started laughing. Sometimes the truth hits so hard that we don't like it. It sucks, but that doesn't make it any less the truth, right? And in sharing our truths, we can help a lot of other people. Someone was expressing a real frustration, and I still battle with this, right? And it was one of those ideas on how frustrating it is when you help somebody, you tell them the right thing to do, and they do the wrong thing. So essentially, it is how frustrating it is to watch someone you care about make a mistake that may hurt them, right? And that's a real live frustration that I've had and I've lived with for a long time. But when we're authentic about who we are and we're aware of who we are, I commented on that post and I stated how it really does come from a negative place. It's that idea that we've talked about as a group here. People want to heal the world so they don't have to heal themselves. We understand that experience is the best teacher, but somehow when we love and care for people, we're so willing to jump in front of their lessons instead of help dust them off or pick them up after they've learned their lesson or being there with them while they learn the lesson without judgment, right? So I remember when I thought firmly, I held on to this belief so tight. And I talked about it, and I was breaking up with my well, I wasn't breaking up. My fiance and I were essentially calling off this wedding idea, right? And she said to me, and I've told you all this, something well, I agree. One of the issues with society is people don't like to believe the truth. Now, the problem with that is there can be many different truths. There are worlds within this world that we don't know anything about. So if you're not a part of that culture or that section of society, there are truths that go along with them that you know nothing about. You know what I mean? So if you are unaware of other people's truths, they can sound like lies to you. If you don't leave space for other people's truths, they can sound like lies to you. So, like, for example, I always judge my friends a little bit harshly because they don't respond to me when I'm in need, right? And that is a truth. That is a truth for me. But when I analyze my behaviors, it goes deeper into what we was talking about. It's because I don't even show them how or give them many opportunities to show up because of the level of vulnerability. The and we can hold so tightly on to our truth that we don't leave space for other truths. But you are 100%. People do not want to accept the truth. Your truth, my truth, any truth. Lies feel better because once you hear the truth, you know what that does? It makes you accountable. You cannot no longer pretend. And now you got to do something. Shows ago, after we read The Alchemist, we got dreamers. Most people got. So some people are in a box. You know what I mean? But yeah, people do want their opinion in another. That people, you know what? It's what we talked about as far as life has no obligation to prove you wrong. It's more than likely to prove you right. So people do have a tendency to regurgitate or repeat or have the same thoughts and ideas as them, which puts them in a box where they think their truth is the main truth and the only truth because they don't interact enough. So you got to be careful. People do they look for more confirmation and validation than anything to wind up challenging who they are, right? So and that kind of times in kind of ties into this idea of time travel. Because in some of those moments, some of those places that we travel to, we have to be realistic with who we are. And then we also have to be vulnerable enough to be able to share these experiences with other people. Uh-oh. I don't know, brother. Try again and stop you from posting. I'm understanding, I'm relating, I'm empathizing, I'm sympathizing with this idea because I lived with it for so long and care for. Make a mistake that you could have advised them against. But you remember what I told you about that advice, right? So when I see this post, I'm telling them it's coming from a traumatic place. Right. I appreciate you. It definitely is. An uncomfortable truth is better than a comfortable lie. And I got it from a movie. It's a cold comfort, but a comfort nonetheless. That's the truth. Them harsh truths, they man. Like I had to accept one. I know if I talk to this person, I'm gonna wind up with fleas. Cold truth, but a nonetheless. So I remember I'm breaking up where we're separating in this moment, and this woman says to me, "Listen, I know I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life, but you have to let me make my own mistakes." Man, that thing was like getting punched in the stomach because the reason why you are so frustrated by their mistakes is because essentially what you have done is taken on the weight and responsibility of their decisions. And even though you may be well intended, you know what we say about intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And when I shared that, somebody else received something. I said exactly what someone said to me in this moment. And someone replies to me, was like, yo, I needed to hear that. That truth that someone delivered to you, that cold comfort, that jab to the stomach is what they needed to hear because it is a truth about them. I know I'm a loving person. And when I love you, I don't want you to get hurt. And I'll do everything in my power to keep you from getting hurt. But need to learn. And there is freedom in giving people back their responsibility for their own choices and decisions. And when I shared that story, it time traveled me back to that moment that was very difficult for me. But it was so necessary because it was a piece of me that I learned about in that moment, right? And I specifically said that because one of the main purpose for these memories, these time travel moments that we have, is so that it allows us the opportunity to pick up the pieces of ourselves that we left in that moment and or leave pieces of ourselves we no longer need. For example, the trauma of that situation. If I was so attached to the hurt, the pain, the trauma of that situation, I would have never been able to be vulnerable enough to share my testimony that helps somebody else, right? Because I understand time traveling is a beautiful thing. You know, not clarity, but that awareness of yourself. Because anger is an emotion, you know what I mean? What do we talk about? It's the capacity, your emotions, and not just your emotions, but the capacity to feel the wide range of emotions. What's funny? I had to explain this to someone else, right? I got a Pisces friend. And as you say, life gets easier when you don't care. This level of I don't care, right? And essentially, I had this level of care, but it changed. So it ain't that I don't care, right? It's what I said because I do care. I just understand. I just, as a matter of fact, I gave myself permission to not be responsible for everyone's choices. We all must have to bear our cross. Some of that, some of when you care, you get attached to it. And then you'll be like, I can control this, or I have next with my fellow brother and my sisters. I care about humans. I don't want them to be hurt. I want them to make good choices. But in understanding that, I remove myself from the responsibility of it. So it's not that you don't care. You've just given them their responsibility for their choices. You make a mistake, you got to live with that. If you do me wrong, I don't have to live with that mistake. I just have to live with how I felt. You know what I mean? That's my thing to deal with. So it's not that you don't care, and I'm specifically saying this too, because one thing that we're very careful about here is our spelling, right? The scene and what we feel. And we want to make sure that we're using the right language because what I said, life has no obligation to prove you wrong. It will prove you right. Oh, you know what? Listen, Liberty, I ain't have it on multi-stream, so the only thing that I was seeing is Twitch. I'm sorry. Okay, there you go. I see you on Facebook now. Thank you. Listen, I can see the comments on is because I don't got it on multi-stream. So when I log on, I gotta choose a main chat. Then when I after the show gets started, I can click on multi-stream and it keeps track of all of them. You know what I mean? So I apologize. You know y'all soul family from the get-go. So that's how you know something is a little bit off. Yeah, and but I agree with what Twitch saying. Life does get easier when you give people when you remove the weight of being responsible for other people's choices. You recognize the limits on what you can do. You live a lot freer life, and 100%, it is not that simple. It's why I can clearly tell you this truth and give you this understanding, but also say to you that I recognize that I am still dealing with this every day. And some of these people are people I love and care for, so I really want them to do, but I understand that everybody's on their own pace. And even though when those emotions start welling up in me, I have the tools to remind myself that it is not my responsibility. My role was what I did. I played my part, and I'll leave it to him. Oh no, nah, see, it wasn't even my seer either. It was why must I have a name? It's you okay. So Liberty, Twitch, you don't know. I'm talking to Facebook now because the Facebook comments sometimes don't show up on there. I don't know what that's all about. But Liberty is one of our fans. And I mean not one of our is one of our families. And I do like homemade peanut butter cookies. Jesus Christ. Oh man, you've been talking a lot. You've been talking about Oregon Trail and everything. Are you not at work? he was describing he was describing Dungeons and Dragons. It's basically it's been a lot of different things. So in our childhood it was a little different. But right now, I mean it's still about 20, 30 years in the game. But it's basically just a role player game. It's imagine if Monopoly was role play. So it's like Monopoly, but it's role play. So y'all actually play characters, and yeah, you're not just rolling dice. So it's that deep. And thank you for the happy early birthday. I'm sorry, you've been talking for real. And I don't for what I want. It's really I think it's really a part of the process of putting it out there. You know what I mean? So from a way where people can respond to it. You know what I mean? Because who thought I was deserving the books. There are people who told me you do so much for me. I gotta do something for you. I know right now because of how many times I've shown up for them. And the wild thing is, one of the reasons why they feel so pressured is because I really don't give them opportunity to show up for me. You know what I mean? Patience versus long suffering, for sure. That is a perfect example of how we mislabel our things, right? Appreciate me. See, now you start talking about my favorite poem. So one of my favorite poems, if you don't know the Giving Tree is about a little boy. It's about a tree that a little boy used to play under. And as he grows up, the tree grows with him. And every new segment in his plays under it, take naps. Once he goes to college, you know what I mean, he doesn't play on it that much. He has a fan things, he's still there to go sit on the tree stump. The tree is still there for him. So it is a beautiful story of unconditional love. Even though it's between a boy slash man and a tree, it is a beautiful story of unconditional love. I appreciate you. Why much you have a name, man. If you have a lot of D&D books, man, you might have to connect with my boy Massir because he's getting ready to start a new D&D. If you're not already connected with him, because that might be how you found me. Pretty Black Girl, I see. You know what's crazy? It shows up as you put emojis on them, and on TikTok it just says hand pink waving, hand pink waving, hand pink waving. All right. I think that was the last thing. We got a little off topic. You know, some of our best shows happen when we get off topic. All right. But essentially, the purpose of all this stuff, whether it be the time traveling or the reworking your relationship with new words or any of the things that we talked about, the main focus of this path is to make sure that we pick up those pieces that we left behind and leave behind pieces that we no longer need, right? So that is okay. We did it for an hour. It was wild. I don't know. Okay, so I don't know what Thursday show is going to be. We're supposed to do a new book. Um, I don't know. I do have the Giving Tree here, but I'm treating that book low key. I'm kind of treating that book like some new sneakers. I don't want creasing. I ain't even opened the book all the way so it could crease. So I'm reading it like this. Literally, I'm just holding it like this. You can't see. I swear y'all can see everything. Instead of me, I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, I'm gonna put this in plastic. I need to laminate all this so it can never, ever, ever get messed up, right? So I don't know what next week's gonna be about. I'm going to do a post and a poll so we can try to, as a group, try to figure out what we would like. I think I need to go back to that other post to see some of the books on there. Liberty has given me like 10,000 books. Is one book that I've been talking about a whole bunch that I want to read, but we'll figure it out before Thursday. But about the 9 key insights of life, which is very interesting. Um, so next Tuesday, I think we will go on to why do we need to do things that are good for the soul? Um, and that's to address our normalized dysfunctions and how our traumas and experience have stolen pieces of us that we need as we go forward. And we can leave the pieces that we took from that situation, like the attachment to the trauma and the pain itself. Nope. If you got the giving tree, you was late. That's got it. No. So I did not get your giving tree late. Somebody jumped onto the head. You know what? I was going to change him. Don't worry. And you know what's funny? Ain't nobody talking about Judy Blume. And I love Judy Blume. Because Tales of the Fourth Grade Nothing is literally the next book in that line. It's Giving Tree, Where the Sidewalk Ends. And then the next one is going to be Judy Blume. And it is Tales of the Fourth Grade Nothing. That and Are You There, God? Is me, Margaret. So great books, which is crazy. But we'll figure something out. Oh, and I was thinking about I wanted a cake that I didn't have to make. Thank you. So now don't be at Publix ordering no cake neither, because Publix showed up for me already today. They give you a little coupon where you can get you that little bar cake, little half cake that they got going on. So I went and picked up my half cake today. And then dude messed up, so I got me some. It's supposed to be buy one free, get one free, but I was supposed to pay at least full price for one, but I got one at half price and still got the one free. So it's, you know what I mean? The universe telling me you're doing good by exposing more of your vulnerability self and growing and reshaping and creating new ideas or new relationships with some of these words that I didn't have, right? But family, as always, I appreciate you for your time. I look forward to building with you again next week. And don't forget, Friday my birthday, so show your boy some love. You know what I mean? I thank you. And until Thursday, family. Peace.
show you something.
Why didn't you listen to me?